What's up, guys? I thought you were gonna punch the camera.
I
saw you
was.
light it up.
I was gonna like do the reverse punch, and then I like
Man.
hesitated, and then I was like, no, it's too late to do it. So I did it anyway.
Love it, love it. Guys, to my left, Felicia Spencer, UFC stud, number one contender, the walking on Lego meme. Felicia Spencer, how are you?
Bringing back 2020. Okay.
Hey, Invicta FC champ. Come on now. Put some respect on her name.
Awesome. Yeah. Yep. That's me. It's been a while.
It's been a couple weeks. Well, I've been busy. You've been busy. Life's been tied up. I even, tech, and I was like, all right, Fee, it's UFC 281. I'm giving you the phone call. I'm giving you that 1999 phone call. Hey, when are we doing this? A hurricane is coming. It's crazy. It's bananas right now here in Florida.
Yeah. I feel like phone calls are coming back. Maybe I don't know. I'm starting to like phone calls.
Okay. Well,
we
got to make a lot of phone calls for this card. This card is absolutely bananas. I like this card more than UFC 280, and a lot of people thought it was one of the best cards they can put on. To me, this main event is so intriguing, and Israel Adesanya, like we have a mainstay champion. Of course, the kind of being super underrated. Carla Esparza versus Zhang Wei Li, which everyone thinks Wei Li's going to win. That might be your lock, like she is. Everyone is betting her. Every media member is picking her. And then, at least, there's so many great fights underneath. Frankie Edgar's last fight. Dominic Reyes is back. A ton of stuff. But Michael Chandler versus Dustin Poirier could be the fight of the year. One of the best fights that they can put together. It's just war. Like, as soon as they did Gaethje Chandler in the MSG a year ago, like, you knew that fight was going to be great. This fight's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. We're just a couple nights away.
Yeah, that's definitely a fan favorite. Like, that's a pick for just an exciting fight, great matchmaking, and like, I don't know what's gonna happen. It's kind of crazy. Both guys are just so talented and strong, and like that's a crazy one. So I'm staying away from that one with my pick.
Yeah, like I don't have a feel for it, to be honest. And I think we've talked about this. I'm a huge Dustin Poirier guy.
Yeah.
I think kind of in a weird way his career is underrated because he has just a bad matchup when it was against Khabib Nurmagomedov, the greatest of all time, maybe. And then even Charles Oliveira, which he had really good high-end moments in that fight, but did get choked out sooner or later. And I think that kind of dings his career. But the man beats everyone else. Like, the man's beat Conor twice and Gaethje and like the Max Holloway. The man beats everyone. Like, just one of the all-time greats in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm definitely high on. I've always been a fan of Dustin from before he was a name, and at the same time, the later you get into the career, the more wars that you've had, it's like, when does that start to take a toll? That's kind of like the question, right? Especially with such an explosive Chandler. Like, he looks like he hits hard, like he obviously hits hard. Yes. And that's kind of like, well, how is that going to feel for him? But, Dustin, in my eyes, is a legend of the sport. So, I would never want to pick against him for sure. I think he was my very first underdog pick of our show, I think, back in like 2020 or something.
I think so. Him versus Conor, right? I think that was it.
That was the first time we did it.
There we go. 2 years later, we have one more pay-per-view left to 2022, a very nice pay-per-view as well, December 10th, I believe, in Vegas. But guys, this weekend, UFC 281, let's kind of get into it. Let's start with the underdog. There's just so much on this card. To me, there's multiple underdogs, multiple good veteran underdogs. How can you not feel for Frankie Edgar in his last fight, probably in Madison Square Garden, as a underdog? But Felicia, it's your call. It's your pick. What is your underdog, your phenomenal pick of UFC 281?
So, yeah, I juggled between the two biggest underdogs on the card a little bit with Carla, and somehow – I can see Molly McCann being an underdog against Erin Blanchfield, but she was the same level of underdog as Carla Esparza is, and to me that was a little surprising.
Great point.
But I can definitely see why in a sense, but the numbers seem a little off. I ended up not going with either of them. I went with Frankie. Okay. So I'm picking Frankie for my underdog. He's not a heavy underdog, but he is a dog, and going against a talented guy. But I really do think that he is just like on a level that a lot of people haven't faced, and just the wrestling and the aggressiveness and the pace that he'll hold. I think he's just kind of been there and seen it all, and I don't think there's going to be like a big surprise for him against Gutierrez, who is a great, fighter.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
pulling it out, I think the wrestling will be the difference.
Great call. People don't really remember. I think it was actually a year ago, kind of this month. It was the whole Gaethje Chandler on the card, but also it was Frankie Edgar versus Cheeto Vera. And Frankie won the first 2 rounds of that fight. And now everyone has, I know Cheeto got him in the third, and that's kind of what Cheeto does. So I don't want to take that away from Cheeto, but Cheeto won that one, beat Dominic. Now everyone thinks he's in line for a title fight. And kind of they think Frankie's kind of like a prelim guy. But you saw in that fight just literally 1 year ago, Frankie was winning that fight. Like, I think Frankie still has some juice left. Yeah, the chin's probably not there. That was one of his pluses or one of his advantages. He can get hit bad and kind of come back, that rocky comeback, and that's kind of gone. But I still think Frankie is a guy. Also, you and I have talked about this multiple times. Like, there's something special about, come on, he's walking into Madison Square Garden. I would assume it's going to be one of the biggest cheers of the night. It's going to be one of the biggest cheers for Frankie career. Like, I think this week will get really pro Frankie towards the end. And that's no disrespect towards Chris. Chris is a good guy, good fighter. I just think the momentum and the buzz, I think Frankie's going to get it done. Probably make it grappling heavy, make it a little bit more wrestling heavy, but just pull out the win. Like, no one will remember how he won if he just wins this fight. Like, that's all people will remember. So I like it. I'm in it. And let me go back to one of the ones you said. I'm in total agreement with you. And same thing. I talked to so many people, and everyone loves Erin Blanchard on this fight. She's really good. And same thing. No disrespect towards Erin. She's a stud, a monster. But like, Molly McCann has like all this momentum, all this mojo, all this, just like, she's a freight train. And I can see it being a close fight or even leaning towards Erin. But like, yeah, the last time I saw the odds, I think McCann's in the plus 300s. Like, she's a heavy, heavy underdog. I don't see it. Like, I don't see, and she's like, how she's knocking people. Like, I think Molly's a live underdog, big time.
Yeah, for sure. Just because, like you said, she's got, those hits that she can land that will just change the fight, will just put you out. Obviously we've seen it multiple times. I think Erin can win using her grappling. I think that she's a stud grappler, but I also thought other people could have won grappling, and that's for sure Molly's weakness, but you have to be able to exploit it. You have to be able to get it there. So it's going to be a challenge, but I would still lean Erin, but not that heavy. Like, if you're looking to put money on a dog, that's one to put money on.
And real quick, and I didn't know we were going to go this far into it, but like, you just said something, and we hear it all the time. I've been hearing Molly McCann's weakness is grappling now for almost 2 years, right? And she's getting to this level, and she's standing up with people, and I think she's doing enough. I think I always hear that, to me, Molly doesn't need to work on positive and grappling about submissions. She just needs to work on grappling defense and getting girls off of her and getting off the cage. Because if she stands for 15 minutes with any female, it's looking good for her. She's knocking girls out. She just has explosive pop in her. Exactly. So, like, I think she's been hearing this for multiple years, and I would assume, right, she's working her goddamn ass off and kind of working on that grappling defense. Hey, if I can just kind of get Erin off me and push Erin to the middle of the cage, and we can stand for 9 minutes, I'm going to get it done. So I think she's hearing it. And I think everything I've been seeing in Molly in the cage, she's improving in that way. And I think she's a live underdog. I'll just leave it like that.
For sure.
All right. UFC 281 lock. Like a ton of there's like 9 or 8 future UFC Hall of Famers. There's great fights. We haven't even mentioned, Hooker. Dan Hooker's back on the card. A great feature prelim, Brad Riddell versus Mokiano. So many great fights on it. We haven't even touched the main event yet, and Israel Adesanya is, a favorite. What is your lock, Felicia Spencer, for UFC 281?
Yeah, I want to talk about more fights, but I ended up going with Dan Hooker on this one.
Ooh, I like
as my lock. So, he's fighting a guy that's known for leg locks and like rolling for things and catching a lot. But I think that Dan Hooker, just, even though he's lost a lot in the last few years, I think that he does still have a good fight IQ. And I think, he's long enough to be able to stifle some of that, I think, and, just have a good solid game plan. I think that he's cerebral enough to not put himself into a bad position, and he's got such great striking and, pretty good takedown defense. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, he's not a heavy favorite, but he is I think a slight favorite against it, and I'm going to pick him for my lock.
Okay, I like that a lot. Question for you, and I don't think you've ever done this. Maybe, because even the regional scene was a little bit different, I think, at that time for you in your gym. With to me, Dan Hooker's fighting on the card, and then of course that same team has Israel Adesanya in the main event with a lot of buzz. They have Brad Riddell on the card. Uber, they just have like a lot of team stuff. Is that, you think, positive? Of, hey, we're all doing this together, we're cutting weight together, we're traveling together, we're in this thing together? Or is it a tiny, maybe bit of a negative that maybe, let's just be honest here, like your head coach is with Izzy. Like if Izzy needs something, like he's going to Izzy first. He's in the main event against like his arch nemesis. It's one of the biggest middleweight championships fight of any, UFC might. Like being kind of second or third prong on the team thing, how would that work, do you think?
So that's a interesting point. I can see why it might be for some people maybe like a drawback, but I think it's a positive,
Okay.
aside from just pushing yourself harder in the gym because everyone's rising to the next level at the same time. And also, it might be nice to not have so much pressure on you during camp that you're the focus, you know what I mean? Like everyone's got eyes on you. Coach is always in your ear talking this, do this better, do this, try this, try this. So it might be like a little bit of a breather where he can kind of just do his thing and like, focus on himself without having so much, attention on himself during the camp. So I think that might be a good thing too.
Okay.
I guess it just kind of would depend on the fighter. I'm sure some fighters need to be the center of the room to feel like they're progressing, but I feel like I would have enjoyed also having my coach yell at someone else for a couple minutes, Yeah.
Get back in the sauna, Felicia. Wait, how about him?
More so
how about Megan? Megan's not in here.
Sorry, like just the training weeks, those days, I think would be a little easier. So.
Very cool. All right. So lock, Dan Hooker, underdog, Frankie Edgar. Can't go wrong. Two absolute studs in the game. All right, let's talk about it. Main event. We haven't really talked about the co-main, but I definitely want to hit on the main event for a couple minutes. I'm going to kind of give you my take and then see if you're, Dave, you're dead wrong, or maybe you might agree with me. A lot of momentum over the last, I think, couple of weeks is on Pereira's side. Just the challenger and all this thing. I think Izzy is in a great spot here. When you can be the best, and Izzy has been the best middleweight, and especially in the UFC for 3, 4, 5 years, and Whitaker twice, and Vettori, and the level of competition that Israel Adesanya's faced in the UFC. And this fight, out of all the other fights, I feel like he feels like he's the the underdog, and he's the hunter. And Pierre has beat him not once but twice in his past with kickboxing, especially with a vicious knockout. That's kind of this viral thing that you see over and over again. I think Izzy has the chip on the shoulder instead of like a Vettori who lost to Izzy and now is challenging him again. It's kind of like I would rather go into a camp or into a fight as an underdog or as like me against the world. That's how I would feel. But I think Izzy has that, and he's the more experienced UFC guy. I know Pierre has fought, he just beat Sean Strickland, and no slap to Strickland. That's the best competition he's fought. Strickland, to me, is not a well-rounded mixed martial artist in 2022. I just think this is another level. Like, I don't think Pierre has fought mixed martial arts at this level. I love Izzy. It's probably going to be a decision. I think it's probably going to be a lot of footwork, very technical fight, but I see Izzy winning this fight.
I would lean Izzy also, not so you're not crazy, but I'm not confident with it either. But I do like the Izzy that we've been seeing, in the sense that we haven't been seeing him a lot in the media.
Yeah.
Because he's always just so like, I don't want to say he's cringy, but he's just one of those guys, that's like, he's very confident and he's kind of like a dick sometimes. So, so it's kind of been like, I like him more not hearing him talk sometimes. and it seems like he's doing it on purpose. He doesn't want to be part of the media right now.
Right.
He's just focused on this because he knows the stakes. He knows, exactly what the situation looks like from the outside. So he's not, in denial of what's going on. So yeah, I think this storyline is just speaking for itself. And I like that he's just taken a step back and obviously taking it very seriously. So the more I don't see him talk in the media, the more it seems like, okay, this is like this means a lot. It means a lot to him personally. So.
Agree.
Yeah.
Totally
yeah,
agree.
fun fight. Another fun one.
Also, the co-main event will kind of end it here. UFC 281. So Carla and Weili was matched. We saw this 3-4 months ago, and right away, Weili by murder. Weili via first round TKO. Weili's, I think, the biggest favorite, the second biggest favorite on the card. Like a freight train, almost unbeatable. She's not fighting Rose, her kryptonite. Everyone's on Weili, and the closer the fight gets, I'm also on Weili as well. I can't go on the Carla side. I can't do it. I think Weili is just bigger, stronger, tougher, faster, more athletic, everything in between. I think Weili by total domination.
You're not crazy. I mean, it's hard to look at Carla and think of her being outclassed, but I think she might be. I like her a lot. I like Carla as a mixed martial artist, and she's like, she's like an OG. She was one of the first Invicta champions, and one of the first UFC champions, and that kind of thing. So, she's got a long career, but yeah, Weili is just like on another level right now. So, I would definitely be picking Weili as far as a favorite goes, but anything can happen in the sport of MMA. So, it wouldn't shock me too much if Carla did pull it out. It would probably be a decision via wrestling, but that would be it.
Yeah, very true. All right. So it looks like me and you are on Izzy, Weili, and Poirier. Is that right? We're kind of on the same page?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Nothing no strong feelings, but we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing, even the undercard, like a lot of people are starting to really lean Dominic Reyes, but like he hasn't fought. It's been, I think it's 22 months. Ryan Spawn is that guy. He can knock out anyone with one punch at any time. It's a very fun card. It's going to be fun. A lot of fights Saturday, UFC 281 on ESPN Plus. Anything else? Anything did we miss?
No, I think it covered everything I wanted to mention.
Cool.
Head to toe, top to bottom. This card's awesome. Check it out.
It is. It's so good. Felicia's lock is Dan Hooker. Felicia's underdog is Frankie Edgar. There we go. A couple more weeks. We have a couple more fight nights, and then UFC 282, December 10th. And then we're like done for the rest of the year. Like we did it. We 2022 in the books.
I'm not complaining.
Crazy. Awesome. Well, have a good time. Have a good weekend. Be safe out there. Hopefully you don't get too wet with the hurricane.
You too. Stay dry.
Later.